Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our two teams into the JJB Stadium. Our visitors, Blackburn Rovers and Wigan Athletic.
And I've got to say, this is what football's all about. Takes me back to the days when all Christmas, Boxing Day and Easter fixtures were like this. What a wonderful partisan support for both teams. Wigan riding high in the Premiership, and Blackburn Rovers, as a result of Wednesday's game being postponed, unable to climb into that top half of the table. But the fans will be in good voice today to cheer on the team. 5,000 of them have travelled, as we mentioned, from Blackburn and occupy the whole of the left-hand side here at the JJB Stadium. The rest of the ground almost full, with a staunch following of Wigan football fans. A town more used to watching success on this pitch in rugby, now enjoying the game, the sweeter game, with a rounder ball. With me in the commentary box is Neil. Good atmosphere, bit of sunshine as well. Blue skies, no rain, and certainly no frost on the pitch tonight.
Feels like a proper football game, doesn't it? We missed out the other night at Ewood Park, very disappointingly. The home game against Sunderland called off. I know it was one that Rovers was certainly fancying and eyeing up for 3 points, which would have moved them into the top half of the table. There's still that possibility here this afternoon, helped by earlier results. It has to be said, 3 matches earlier on today. Aston Villa 0, Arsenal 0, Charlton have beaten West Ham by 2-0. Chelsea have beaten Birmingham by 2-0. There we are, starting in math wrongs. There were 4 games early on today. The other one, Tottenham have beaten Newcastle by 2-0. So Rovers could move up to 9th place with victory here today, but facing 5th place Wigan, who have had a quite remarkable start to life in the top flight. It will be very difficult. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times, but the fans really do deserve a continued mention here at the JJB Stadium this afternoon. Away to our left, there's over 5,000 here. Rovers are sold out for this game, and they've made so much noise already. If they make anywhere near the amount of noise per person they did on the trips to Middlesbrough, then we could be deafened here in the main stand.
So Rovers forced to make changes today, with Tugai suspended and Andy Todd failing to recover from the knee injury he sustained up in the league fixture against Middlesbrough up at the Riverside Stadium. So changes, but Rovers welcome back 2 returnees after suspension, Lucas Neal and Paul Dickoff. And it's a big game for Paul Dickoff, celebrating a milestone today.
50th appearance for Rovers. Yeah, scored in that time 16 goals for the club, which is no mean return, and given that he was playing with an injury for the second half of last season, he's done very well. And of course, his last appearance, he scored about 30 seconds before the end of it, maybe a touch more, will include added time. But that goal up at Middlesbrough, he missed the league tie also at the Riverside Stadium, but he's back after suspension for today, and he starts, as does Lucas Neal, who returns from a similar ban. Tugai misses out after picking up 5 yellow cards. He would have missed Sunderland on Wednesday, but that's been carried over to this afternoon. And as you mentioned, Andy Todd also not involved. The 2 teams therefore we'll give you this afternoon. We'll start with Wigan. They will line up with, in goal, number 12 Mike Pollitt, 2 Pascal Chilbonda, 26 Leighton Baines, 16 Aryan Dazoo, 4 Matt Jackson, 11 Graham Kavanagh, 20 Gary Teal, 21 Jimmy Bullard, 10 Lee McCulloch, 30 Jason Roberts and 7 Henri Kamara. The referee for this afternoon, it's actually a change. It will be Mark Clattenburg, and looks as though we're just waiting for Graham Kavanagh to just get something tied up on his socks below us. Wigan just with 10 men out on the pitch at the moment. So Rovers, quickly we'll give you the Rovers lineup. Mention a couple of changes in goal. Brad Friedel, the back 4 of Neil, Kizanishvili, Nelson and Michael Gray. The midfield right to left, David Bentley, Stephen Reid, Robbie Savage and Morton Gamps. Pedersen returns as well. Up front, 2-goal hero from the league side, Middlesbrough, Shefki Kuchi and Paul Dickoff. And in this first half, Rovers wearing their away kit of black and silver will kick from left to right. Wigan in their home kit, the blue and white vertically striped tops, blue shorts, white socks. First of all, Alan, we'll have a little chat about Wigan, who've had a remarkable start to this season.
Well, everybody said that Wigan have been batting well above their weight this season, but I think now what they're showing to people is maybe their weight is a decent mid-table Premiership side, and whilst they're still in a very highly rated position and looking at European football and possibly with a victory today, Premiership safety. Who'd have thought that at the turn of the year, Premiership safety? Rovers will have a say in that. but they have done exceedingly well, and teams who consistently play good football aren't just fly-by-nights.
5th place though. Remarkable start to the season for them. Rovers, who've been in and out at times, looking to get themselves up into the top few, to the top half of the table. They can move up to 9th, as we say, above both West Ham and Newcastle. Dickoff, back from suspension, gives chase down the far side. How he'd love to mark it, that landmark achievement, the 50th appearance for the club, with a goal this afternoon. Another one celebrating another milestone is Stephen Reid, who makes his 50th start for Rovers today.
Now, Paul Dickoff at the Middlesbrough game, the Carling Cup game up at Middlesbrough, said that he'd been feeling unwell for 89 minutes, felt brilliant when he scored, but had been unwell. Told me just before kick-off.
Long throw from Pedersen into the area, bounces over a couple of men, left by absolutely everybody. Savage attacked at the near post. His run was bumped off a little bit. Paul Dickoff couldn't rise beyond him, and it's gone straight behind for a Wigan goal kick.
He'd given everything to Sheffield to be in that position. But Paul Dickoff was telling me he hasn't been well all night, so whether that's a good omen. He said once he gets out on the pitch, he's getting used to it now, feeling unwell and then going out and playing, so hopefully he will be able to mark his 50th appearance for Rovers with another vital goal. Important that Robbie Savage, David Bentley, Stephen Reid and Morten Gams Pedersen have good games today, because the Wigan midfield have been known to really dominate matches.
Well, Wigan have got a free kick just inside the Rovers half, about 5 yards in, a couple of yards in from the sideline, which Leighton Baines, the left fullback, will take. It's drilled toward the edge of the area, headed away by Pedersen. Dickoff might chase. Matt Jackson, huge centre back. They've got a massive pairing at the heart of their defence, Wigan. Ayhan Dazou, the veteran defender, Dutch defender, of course, rejoined them, should I say, from Portsmouth before the start of this season. I bet how Harry Redknapp wishes he still had him there. Of course, Portsmouth, the next opponents for Rovers, first opponents of 2006. They'll be at Ewood Park on Monday night. A late kick-off in that game. Reid finds Pedersen back in the Rovers side after being rested for the league game at Middlesbrough. The two Wigan defenders nearly collide. Camera takes over. He's got white tights on underneath his blue shorts and white socks that are pulled up to his knees. Gloves on as well, the Senegalese striker. Has played against Rovers in the Premiership before, not an occasion he would like to remember. And on a couple of occasions, on both occasions he's lost. He played for Wolves when Rovers beat them 5-1 on the opening day of the 2003-2004 season. And last year, of course, he was on loan at Southampton when they were beaten 3-0 by Rovers in April this year. Savage tries to find Pedersen, cut out by the effervescent Bullard, one of the main reasons Wigan have started this season so well. Such an inventive midfielder, former Peterborough man. Back it goes to Dazou, the captain. He looks long upfield, pressured well by Dickoff. A long ball forward, it'll drift straight out of play midway inside the Rovers half for a throw left full-back area.
Not exactly household names, either the Wigan squad. You mentioned Camera there, and you've got to look at maybe Jason Roberts as being the other really well-known name, but the rest have established themselves now as Premiership footballers, and people like Matt Jackson and Jimmy Bullard are, I'm sure, will be considered in any top Premiership team. You know, they are players who consistently play well, don't they?
Well, they've certainly risen to the challenge of moving up to Premiership level, haven't they? The front two in particular, something Rovers will have to look out for. They've scored over 15 goals between them this season, 14 of those in the Premiership. Kamara's top scorer with 8, Roberts, his strike partner, with 6. They've actually scored 10 goals in the last 3.5 games between them.
And this is after the bad spell which everybody said would cause Wigan's season to go pear-shaped.
Yeah, they lost 5 games on the bounce, didn't they? That was when they pretty much faced the top 5 clubs in the Premiership, likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, and Spurs were in there as well. Friedel's long kick finds Pedersen left-hand side, takes the ball down over his shoulder, looks to cross, it comes off. Another one of those who's taken the Premiership by storm, Pascal Chimbonda, easy for me to say, the right full-back, and it's out for a Rovers throw. It's just a few yards from the corner flag. Left-hand side, Pedersen will take, hoping to utilise his long throw as he did last time. Hopefully this time someone can get on the end of it. Hurled into the middle, Cucci attacks near post, might fall for Savage, headed away by McCulloch. Roberts is just outside his own penalty area. Back it goes to Chimbonda, not the most convincing of clearances. Picked off by Stephen Reid. Back he goes to the captain, Ryan Nelson. He looks down the left-hand side towards Cucci. He'll give chase. The ball's not going to go out for Chimbonda. He's under pressure from the Rovers striker, and it's out for a throw, which Cucci will take quickly towards Dickoff, trying to turn Dazou inside the penalty area. The Dutch defender gets ahead on that one, though, and it's behind for a Rovers corner.
Morten Gams Pedersen to score direct from a corner today. Had words with him before the game.
Not from that side, he won't.
No, he won't from this side, but he is there to take the corner. I think we'll be looking for a great improvement in performance from him, won't we, today?
What a nice little story about Morten for you in a minute. We'll wait till after this corner's gone. The Norwegian from the Rovers' left-hand side. It will be left-footed, more of an outswinger. Whip one towards Nelson with a header! Tipped over by Pollitt, still searching for his first Rovers goal. Coming up to the anniversary of joining the club, of course. He won't get much closer than that. Good save by the Wigan goalkeeper.
Well, unfortunately, Ryan Nelson almost put it exactly where Pollitt was, but he still had to stretch. He's doing well at corners, doing well with headers. I think it won't be long before we see Ryan Nelson converting one of those. No, this is from the other side.
No, it is, yes. So this will be more of an in-swinger. Pedersen with what looks like golden boots from where we are. Left-footed, it is just underneath the crossbar towards the near post. Headed away by Roberts against the back of his own man, who was Jimmy Bullard. It's another chance for Morten Pedersen. A third corner in quick succession, and they've all been good deliveries thus far.
Still waiting for this goal direct from a corner.
What a year he's had. How that would top it off. A low one in, a not great delivery. Everyone misses at the near post, and again Jason Roberts, who was covering the inside of the near post for Wigan, has put the ball behind, and it's a fourth Rovers corner in quick succession.
Well, that really was a last-minute, last-gasp clearance from Jason Roberts there. Now I think when you see variation from Morten Gams Pedersen, if Tugai was here on the pitch, I think I know what was coming.
Whipped in towards the near post. Dickoff tries to flick on. Comes off the side of his head. It goes back. Savage will go square towards David Bentley, looking for a few options forward. Cucci gets himself available. Ryan Nelson, left-hand side of midfield. Well, when he was there at Middlesbrough, he was so effective, helping Emerton set up Cucci's opening goal. Diagonal ball from Reed. Finds Dickoff left-hand side of the area. Chipped in. It's a deep one towards the back post. Cucci went near post. Pedersen didn't really attack, and it's skipped away near side now for a Wigan throw. There's been good early pressure though from Rovers.
Good openings from Rovers, good creation, but little in the way of finishing. And how you'd wish there that maybe Cucci had been back post.
Well, should Pedersen have attacked? Well, certainly the opportunity to do so. He just kind of half weighted back, hoping for maybe the ball to drop down edge of the penalty area. Didn't really happen. And speaking of Morten, I've been reliably informed that at Middlesbrough, the Premiership match, when he was rested by Mark Hughes, he was at home trying to keep in touch with the game and was listening on Rovers World.
Pleased to hear it.
Everyone does. Roberts, nice turn just inside the Rovers half.
Did actually tell me that on Wednesday, and I wasn't quite sure if that was the case, but you've obviously confirmed that. I wonder if he uses our login details.
I think he said we might have got a bit excited when we scored. And the exact term was the mad. That's a compliment, I'll take that.
Well, you know his father listens as well. The family are all over.
Pedersen flicks on now towards edge of the penalty area. Again, does you not convincing with the header. Dickoff hadn't managed to spin off the Wigan man, and it's through with Mike Pollitt, who of course is keeping an ex-Rover John Filan out the side at the moment. Filan did start the season as Wigan's number one. Got injured though, and Pollitt, despite, well, at least one high-profile mistake in the game at Anfield, has managed to keep his place. The mistake that gifted Peter Crouch his first goal, and it did go down as a Crouch goal in the end. It was one of those that went to the dubious goals panel. Decided against making it an own goal for Pollitt, but the former Rotherham goalkeeper, actually from Bolton, performed well since. And Wigan on such a good run, of course. I know he conceded 3 here last time round against Manchester City, but a clean sheet the other night at West Ham in what was another wonderful victory for Wigan.
So no former Rovers players face their old side today. Alan Mahon isn't in the starting 11 or on the bench. John Filan on the bench. Stefan Onsho on the bench too.
The Rovers have a free kick midway inside the Wigan half. It's dead centre. Pedersen looks as though he will take. Stephen Reid was interested momentarily, but he's now moved away. It looks as though the Norwegian might fancy a strike at goal. Pollitt has only got a one-man wall, which is an interesting decision. Pedersen just waits as an extra man joins the Wigan wall. Left-footed, he'll now stand up and strike. Oh, it was low along the ground. Cucci tried to flick it towards goal, just behind him, left-footed. He didn't make any contact though, although he appealed for a corner in the end. It wasn't given by the referee Mark Clattenburg, and it's behind for a Wigan goal kick. 10 minutes gone at the JJB Stadium, the final game of 2005. It's still Wigan 0, Rovers 0.
And the crowd noise you can hear in the background is not the home supporters. who are absolutely deadly silent, but they are the travelling Rovers fans, buoyed up by their half-price pies, no doubt.
Well, one man who'd love to be here this afternoon doesn't get the chance to do so. Connections on both sides. Dave Whelan enjoying sunnier climates. He's out in Barbados, I think.
Absolutely.
And now the multi-millionaire owner of Wigan Athletic.
Used to meet up with Jack, didn't he?
He did do. Former Rovers player, of course. A number of times a story about him breaking his leg in the cup final has been repeated. Dickoff edge of the box now for Rovers. Nice move. The initial flick on came from Cucci. Bentley helped it forward towards Paul Dickoff, and then from just inside the D, edge of the penalty area, has hit the volley straight at Mike Pollitt.
Well, what we needed there was really clinical finishing from Paul Dickoff. It was a great move, a head-on from Shefchi Cucci, and the ball, when it finally came to Paul Dickoff, who was in acres of space. I think everybody looked along the line to find the assistant waving his flag, but Paul Dickoff was onside, should have controlled it better, and didn't really challenge the goalkeeper. The shot really wasn't powerful enough and wasn't directed.
Reid and Neil, lack of communication. Reid has actually headed it back and allowed Henri Camara to get in goal side, but Kiz initially has done very well. Nice bit of footwork, then he lays it back to Stephen Reid, who should now clear. Plays it against Camara. Neil will finally get the ball away. Well, Stephen Reid, who's going to fit into two guys' shoes this afternoon, not literally, but he's playing that more holding role in midfield. Struggled there a couple of times defensively. Not played for a few weeks, he's been on the bench more than anything. Of course, those two have played together this season. Remember down at Arsenal, and we've played so well. Lost the game, but Rovers played such good football, you don't really worry about seeing the combination of Reid and Savage. Bentley goes down the line, he's blocked off by Arjan Dezou, who made no interest there in trying to get the ball. He all intention of blocking the Rovers man, and did so, and the referee Mark Klattenberg awards Rovers a free kick.
Now, a lot of other referees would have immediately produced a yellow card there. Mark Klattenberg, I think widely acknowledged as being one of the best referees in the Premiership. Certainly plenty of common sense. He's Stephen Reid.
Opens up for Reid, who will strike 25-30 yards out. Well, it's perhaps a measure of confidence that he's got, that he's prepared to have a pop from that range, but never on target and never testing Mike Pollitt.
And that's really what needs to happen. Rovers have got a great spell of pressure at the moment, but really aren't testing the goalkeeper enough. That shot from Paul Dickoff should have done more.
Oh, a couple of half chances now. Dickoff's maybe a decent chance. Reid's a half chance. We've had pressure from the corners. Opening 13 minutes against a side like Wigan, who've won 5 of their last 7 home games. Mark Hughes will be very pleased with the way his side has started this game. Maybe perhaps a sign that Rovers had a bit of benefit from not playing midweek. They've had a couple of days extra rest, whereas Wigan had that tough trip down to West Ham. Mark Hughes was, well, tried to play it down how important it might be, but you know, in terms of fitness, it is a hectic schedule over the Christmas period. Must help to have those extra couple of days.
Yeah, except that what we probably don't want is a situation where the fixture pile-up now occurs when we're maybe challenging for FA Cup, Carling Cup and league position.
You'd settle for it, price of being successful.
I'd have settled for playing on Wednesday.
And still no news of when that game will be rearranged. I should imagine it won't come till February, March time at the earliest.
Well, the Premier League
now, right outside of the area, whips the ball in left-footed. Savage trying to attack. Pedersen back post. What a goal! Stunning volley from Morten Gams Pedersen. 2005 has been a wonderful year for him, and he's ended it on a quite brilliant note. 14 minutes in at the JJB Stadium, it's Wigan 0, Rovers 1.
Well, that ball bobbled around in the penalty area there. When it finally came to Morten Gams Pedersen, you felt that he was in an impossible position with the narrowest of angles, but Morten Gams Pedersen can score from those, and he made no mistake of that. What a great goal.
Well, I'm sure the most content man in the stadium at the moment is Mark Hughes, who decided to rest him for the league game up at Middlesbrough. Morten Gams Pedersen returns to the Rovers starting 11, returns with a goal less than quarter of an hour in, and it really is from the tightest of angles. Dickoff's ball in from right hand side of the area, left footed. It was flicked on, it looked to be drifting out of play. Somehow he's wrapped his left foot around it and arced it back beyond Mike Pollitt into the near top corner as we look. The top right of the goal is an absolutely marvellous finish from Morten.
Well, how did he find space there? Certainly turned quickly, certainly knew where he was aiming the ball at, but how did he manage to beat the goalkeeper in the post? I've no idea, but he did. And it's Rovers 1, Wigan 0.
Well, that's been reward for Rovers. Wonderful start to this match. They've been much the better of the two sides in the opening quarter of an hour, and great for them to get a goal ahead. And we know how difficult Rovers are to play against. Wigan are a resilient side, but now might be the time we see the benefits of not having the game in midweek.
Well, I was about to say just before Morton scored that I'd like to see a little bit more work done out on the flanks, particularly from Morton, because that is where there seemed to be lots of space in this match. And what we've seen there is work not done on the flanks, but done where it really counts, inside the 6-yard box. And Paul Dickoff, I mean, the ball came to him, and you felt that it was completely lost, didn't you, in that position?
He continues to amaze, though, doesn't he? On his day, he can be a match winner. We know he can. He just quite hasn't done it enough times this season. It's his 5th goal of the season, all in the Premiership. He set himself such high standards the way he performed when he came into the side at the start of this year. Of course, got that goal at Cardiff when he got the opportunity and never looked back from there. This season he started with a bang as well, that volley at home to Fulham. 2 goals at Old Trafford against Manchester United as well. After that there's been a bit of a drought, hasn't really hit top form. Maybe those extra few days rest around Christmas have done him the world of good, because that's a quite stunning finish.
Absolutely marvellous. Well done, Morton.
Nelson, the Rovers skipper this afternoon, of course. Andy Todd still out with that knee injury he picked up at Middlesbrough. At the time it looked really, really nasty, didn't it? But fingers crossed, it's just a bit of fluid that swelled up. It's a massive, it wasn't even egg size, it was bigger than egg, the lump that came up inside of his knee immediately. Ryan Nelson, a more than able deputy, the Admiral captaining Rovers today.
Talking to the manager just before kick-off in the tunnel, he said that Andy Todd has just got a little bit of a sore spot, and he's just worried that risking it today, if he gets another knock today, he'd immediately have to come off the pitch, and that doesn't bode well for future games. So the opportunity taken to give Andy Todd a rest, to let that recover completely. Just a sore spot, nothing major. I
think we're at the stage now with the number of games we've got coming up. I mean, starting with Portsmouth in a couple of days' time. I think it's 4 home games in the space of 12 days. You're going to have to, at some point, you would think, rotate a few players, mix things up a little bit for Rovers, and big games as well. 2-legged semi-final coming up, of course, start of January. You don't want to push someone back in too early and see them missing for a month.
Well, I think the interesting thing is that now we've had Ryan Nelson back after an injury layoff, and you know that the central defensive partnerships, I should say partnerships, of either Ryan Nelson and Zurab or Ryan Nelson and Andy Todd are decent enough partnerships, and I don't think you would want to risk Andy Todd when you have cover. And of course, as a player who doesn't even make it to the bench today, who could always fit into that position if Rovers were pushed, and that's Dominic Matteo. Pre-season had some great games in that position.
We've got a few options. The Axe is available on the bench for Rovers today, but perhaps not so much a central defender. And of course he will be going African Nations Cup duty in January, so he'll be missing for a few weeks. Wigan have taken 1 free kick forward. I think David Bentley has given away another free kick in a dangerous area for Rovers. A couple of times now, I think, rather than looking at the ball, he's looked more at the man and decided to jump into him. And referee Mark Clattenburg just saying one more time, and perhaps that might be a yellow card, and if he does get booked, it will be a costly one for David Bentley. He's on 4 at the moment, so that would mean he in turn has a 1-match ban
and misses the cup game against Queen's Park Rangers next Saturday.
Wigan free kick, left hand side as we look. Bullard whips it in deep towards the back post. The heads go up, a cross goal. I think a free kick had been given. It was a good job. So the Henry camera has missed from about 2 yards with an open goal. He headed it back towards where it had just come from, but there was a foul, I think, on Ryan Nelson at the back post.
You always have your heart in your mouth in situations like that, because Wigan delivered a great corner, great free kick, should I say, right into the centre of Rovers' box, and the 2 strikers, Camara and Roberts, are always going to fight for those balls.
Reid does well, blocks the clearance, and it's come off the Wigan man. It was McCulloch who tried to get the ball away.
Thought he might have kept that one in there.
The first real sign we've seen from Wigan, that free kick though, 20 minutes in, which is good news for Rovers. But I think from set pieces, when you've got the likes of Jackson, you've got Dazoo, Roberts is no mean player in the air. They've always got half a chance. Dickoff now inside the area. Well, he tried to hook it over his head. It just went too high in the air, and Pollitt was quickly off his line to collect. And he kicks early upfield towards Roberts. Decent looking control. It then ran away from him. Reid has gone all the way back to Brad Friedel under pressure from Henri Camara. Forward he goes. Relegated twice, of course, now in the Premiership. Camara with Wolves and Southampton. Won't happen this season, that's for sure. Long ball forward towards Camara. Great interception from Kizanishvili. Just got in front of the Wigan man. Now chipped down the line. Great touch and turned by Kuchi. Took it on his chest. He's now bundling forward. Faced by Jackson. Cuts back on his right foot. Nutmegs Kavanagh. Dickoff has the ball taken away from him. Wonders why there wasn't a shout. Savage wins it back for Rovers. Nearly takes it away from Dickoff. Falls for Neil. He tries to lay it forward. Dickoff in the area! Well, if he's trying to scoop his right foot around that one and arc it back across goal, didn't quite make the right contact. I think he slipped just as he was about to pull the trigger, and it ran away from him behind for a goal kick. But a great move from Rovers. Lovely ball from Lucas Neil. Pity Paul Dickoff couldn't match it with a finish.
Oh, a superb ball from Lucas Neil. Just looked up, saw where there was space, saw where Paul Dickoff could run, and you really couldn't have timed that ball to better perfection than that. Just a shame that Paul Dickoff wasn't able to curl his foot round, because it would have certainly tested the goalkeeper. I think Paul Dickoff was aware of the Wigan player who was advancing down on him, but just wasn't able to scoop that one out.
Bullard does well down the Wigan left-hand side. Neil does even better though for Rovers. Wins a throw off Leighton Baines, England under-21 international. Talented young player. Neil just being told to go back by referee Mark Clattenburg. He looks down the right-hand side. Kuchi's come short for the ball. Dazoo tries to get in front of him, or it's McCulloch who offers a massive threat from the left-hand side for Wigan. Used to be a striker, but he plays left midfield here at the JJB, and he's great at getting into the area. Attacking crosses from the opposite flank. Neil will have to be aware of that. Lovely flick on by the man on the Rovers left wing. Pedersen invites Gray to come forward, and the former Sunderland man missed out on the chance to play against his former club for the first time since leaving Sunderland on Wednesday night. Has to go infield. Back towards Ryan Nelson, just left-footed forward. Dickoff is offside. It will be a Wigan free kick, much to the ironic cheers of the home crowd, who I think are of the opinion that Pedersen might have been offside for the Rovers goal.
Well, the goal stands. Rovers leading Wigan here at JJB Stadium by 1-0. Morten Gamst Pedersen with a magnificent far post, tightest of angles shot that gives Rovers the upper hand in this game, and really they deserve it.
Savage with a long clearance forward, left-footed. It's towards the edge of the penalty area. Pollitt heads down. Kuchi will try and get there for Rovers. Heads it forward. Chimbonda should get there just before Pedersen. He clears it out of play. It will be a Rovers throw.
Little word from the referee Mark Clattenburg for Paul Dickoff, who had a bit of an altercation with Chimbonda. Now, you really wouldn't think that the featherweight and heavyweight, Paul Dickoff being the featherweight and Chimbonda being the heavyweight, would be a decent match.
I might have put them the other way around, in all honesty. Gray goes infield towards Reid, looks to the right hand side, and David Bentley got half a yard of space. Neil makes a good overlapping run, left footed, he puts the ball in. Chimbonda should head away, does do, back out to this near side. Bentley tries to get there ahead of Baines. He's battling in, it's fallen for Bullard. Looks forward towards Cameron. This is how Wigan like to play. He attacks the Rovers defender Kizanishvili. Gray comes over to this near side, gets a touch on the ball. It's an important one. Nelson puts it high in the air. That's a foul on Brad Friedel by Jason Roberts, and it will be a Rovers free kick.
Well, that was an obvious foul on Jason Roberts, but from Jason Roberts on Brad Friedel. But you see how quickly Wigan break down this near side, and once the ball is heading into the penalty box, they've almost got a Bolton mentality, haven't they? Go for the ball no matter what, whether there's a player in the way or not. Just go for the ball.
Well, that's the threat. Is it a bit naive from Rovers? They're a goal up already. Should they be a bit more cautious? Sit back a wee bit, because that's what Wigan want. Wigan want Rovers to go in, to go forward, expose themselves a little bit at the back, which plays into their hands, because the pace and power of Roberts, Camara, but can include McCulloch in that as well, is always going to be a threat.
Well, now Mark Clattenburg is having a word with Chef Shikuchi, who I think has maybe said a couple of words too many to the referee, and he throws his arms up. That's Cucci in disgust. Gonna have to be careful.
Baines with a free kick on halfway, left-footed, goes forward towards the edge of the box. Nelson wins the first header, might fall for Cucci, and Rovers now looking to break. Pedersen has made a great burst forward, far side. Him and I think Teal having a right old ding-dong far side. Cucci doesn't get there. Kavanagh just got his body in front of the ball. It was a free kick. The Finnish striker desperate to get there after he'd slightly miscontrolled. It will be a Wigan free kick, but nothing more.
Well, the interesting there was the little tussle between Morten Gams Pedersen and Gary Teal on the far side, and I just wonder if the referee's assistant on that far side was watching that, because Teal was all over Morten Gams Pedersen, pulling him back, arms flailing. Almost surprised that the referee didn't have his attention drawn to that.
Well, the other end from Wigan's free kick, that looked like a foul on Lucas Neal. McCulloch's arm was very high, and there were a couple of instances the other night at West Ham that Wigan were pulled up for later on television. Both of them involved Jason Roberts on that occasion. I think they were both on James Collins as well, the West Ham central defender. The first one he got booked for, the second one, which was a clearer elbow in his face, he got away with. Of course, if he had have received any other card on the second occasion, he would have been missing for today's game, but it's something I'm sure the referee is acutely aware of going into this match. Chimbonda now, right hand side for Wigan, looks down the line to Teal, who's so far been ineffective in this game. Chimbonda, early cross in towards Roberts, flicks off the head towards McCulloch, who tries a shot right footed, and that is about 25 yards wide of target. It's straight out of play for a Rovers goal kick.
Well, David Bentley was just pointing out to Mark Clattenburg about the use of the elbow there. He was just explaining that he felt that it was a you know, when you're a ball boy, the last thing you want to do is that, is it? The ball's 2 inches away from the flag, and he decides to nonchalantly stroke it back to Brad Friedel and hits the corner flag, and it runs outside, and the Blackburn Rovers fans immediately shout their approval of the lack of footballing skill.
Been a good few minutes for Wigan this last few, hasn't it?
It's the only few minutes.
Yeah, they've Rovers dominated the opening quarter of this match. Since then, Wigan have come a little bit more into the game. Roberts holds up well. Reid, though, intercepts for Rovers, pounces on a bit of indecision, goes central looking for options. Oh, he went left towards Pedersen. It was a poor pass. The Norwegian will give chase, but Chimbonda's over there, and he just dummies to clear and lets the ball roll out for a Wigan throw. Well, he'd done so well there, Stephen Reid, just let down by the pass towards the left hand side. Kavanagh, the former Cardiff City man, played against Rovers a couple of times last season in the FA Cup, of course. Spreads it forward, and then Wigan through Bullard, look left towards Baines, forward from fullback. He's not been in advanced positions on too many occasions so far in this match. He is now, gets a return pass from McCulloch. The Scot goes back in field. Savage takes it away from him. Cucci holds up for Rovers, looks back towards Bentley, right hand side. Dickoff still available if he wants. He steps over the ball, fancy stuff, but he's not really going anywhere. Finally he brings Lucas Neal in. Dickoff available down the right hand side. Pass isn't the best, but he just about keeps it in, and Desu comes across. No nonsense clearance as it ran half a yard away from him, and it's out for a Rovers throw.
Well, Rovers are playing by far the better and more cultured football here, but really what you've got to work out is that Wigan are a team who can hit hard on the break. I think Rovers need to make this domination pay in this first half. They've got the goal that they need. Morten Gams Pedersen giving Rovers a lead here. It's 1-0 at the JJB Stadium. Rovers are very much worth their 1-0 lead and controlling this game and playing much the better football.
Gray looks forward left hand side, asking Pedersen to chase. There's too much weight on that pass. Savage turns round and berates his fullback, because Rovers have got Cucci, Dickoff. Robbie Savage was more central as well. Perhaps the better option would have been forward, but as you say, coming up to the half-hour mark, still Wigan 0, Rovers 1. Morten Gams Pedersen in the 14th minute, and deservedly Rovers lead in this game. Mike Pollitt, much the busier of the two goalkeepers. Brad Friedel's had a couple of times where he's had to come out of his goal, punch clearances, but other than that he's not really had to make a save, which is pleasing. Rovers, of course, looking for a third straight clean sheet as well. Not too many of those away from home this season. Back-to-back ones we had at Middlesbrough, and yet to concede here in this match. Gray clears down the line. It's come off camera. It's out for a Rovers throw.
Robbie Savage needs to maybe get himself a little bit more involved in this game. He's playing a very tempered game. It's a game that could easily degenerate into bad temper. And Robbie Savage is controlling himself very well, but you do feel you'd like to see him utilising his football skills a little more and taking a controlling role in midfield. I think it's really Stephen Reid you expect to be doing the defensive midfield work and Robbie Savage the attacking. And would that have been a situation similar to the one that happened a few minutes ago with Stephen Reid? Had Robbie Savage been the one who picked up that ball, I think we might have seen him heading to goal, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't see too much of Robbie Savage trying to shoot from outside of the penalty area. Reid much more confident in his own abilities in that situation. Savage though now doing what he does best, gets a foot in, but it falls for McCulloch. Savage again comes at the Wigan man, he's fouling him, the Welshman fouling the Scot there. Back to an Irishman, Kavanagh. Finally the free kick has gone Wigan's way. The referee waited a few seconds, gave the advantage, and then when it didn't come, he's pulled Rovers up, which Mark Hughes isn't too pleased about. Neither is Robbie Savage, who has now officially gone over a year since he last scored a goal.
He'd have been gutted on Wednesday night, no wonder he wanted to play. Having said that, Robbie Savage in the tunnel was the one who was constantly saying he wanted to play, and he was one of the few that didn't actually get changed.
Friedel kicks long upfield. Roberts tried to hold the ball up edge of the box, but Neil, a good bit of defending for Rovers. It comes off the top of Nelson's head. Camera trying to get inside the penalty area. Roberts is there! First real sight of goal for Wigan. Now the appeal for a foul on the edge of the penalty area. It's good strength by Emre Kamara. He tried to move away from Kizanishvili, who stood his ground. It fell for Roberts, left-footed from just inside the penalty area. He's put it wide of Brad Friedel's left-hand post.
That's where Wigan's goals come from there. Great work from the two strikers who've bagged so many goals this season. One back to goal, holding off the defenders and then just sliding it through for the other one to meet. And there will be times when those will quite easily find their way into the back of the net. Rovers need to be careful now. Wigan have just upped their pace a little bit.
I say they've just had a bit of encouragement the last few minutes, the Wigan front duo, and they seem quite keen to take the initiative. Roberts again now left hand side, trying to use his strength against Kizanishvili, holding him off at the moment, going towards the corner flag left hand side. He tries to go back in field, he's got away from the Georgian, looking for options back. It's towards Baines, left-footed, he crosses in, decent delivery. Teal will attack. Pedersen didn't really make any challenge on the ball, he more just made sure that Teal couldn't get anywhere near it, and it's beaten everybody and will go out far side for a Rovers throw.
Now Teal and Pedersen are having a right little ding-dong there. Teal, when he went in for that ball, had his arms outstretched, and had he been able to make contact, he would have literally just pushed Morten Gams Pedersen out the way. Not the biggest of players, Morten, and I think the physical challenge there would have proved too much for him, but you notice that Teal is not afraid of using his weight.
I would much rather have seen him get a head on that ball and clear it rather than just let it go beyond him. Well, Rovers got away with it. Savage clears upfield, gets a touch on the ball ahead of Bullard. It's going to fall for Kavanagh inside the centre circle. He's looking for some width left on side. There isn't any. Roberts will flick forward. Nelson turns away. Camera will still give chase. Left-footed though, he goes up towards the halfway line. Chimbonda's there for Wigan. Dickoff comes across, gets a touch on the ball. Chimbonda will have to go backwards. Dickoff still giving chase. Now Jackson looks square to Dezu, and Wigan have worked it well, but it's good pressure from Rovers, making sure Wigan can't come forward. A long ball which has gone straight towards Roberts. Chests it down. Kizanishvili gets a foot in. Kavanagh's there again. Chipped over the top. Well, Cameron's been flagged offside. That was a very, very close decision. Just gone in Rovers' favour.
Well, my heart was in my mouth for a moment there until I could make out where the referee's assistant was. It was a decent move from Wigan. Again, held up the ball and just released it. They were so good at that, releasing the ball in perfect timing. Sadly, the attacker there had just strayed offside. Rovers' defence had held firm.
Savage flicks forward to the edge of the penalty area. Neither Dickoff or Cucci gave chase to that one. It was a decent enough ball forward. I think Paul Dickoff wanted it more in towards his feet, but it's gone straight back to Mike Pollitt. And as we say, good period this for Wigan. Rovers standing firm at the moment. They still lead by a goal to nil. Just over 10 minutes left until half-time at the JJB Stadium. Bullard looks right towards Chimbonda. Now a bit more licence to come forward from fullback, the Frenchman. Signed a new 4-year deal here. Initially just joined on a shorter contract, but made such an impression on the Premiership. Rewarded with a new 4-year contract when bigger clubs came sniffing just before the turn of December. Bentley now right hand side for Rovers, midway inside the Wigan half, looks for an early cross, a good ball which Savage will attack. It might fall for Cucci inside the penalty area. Bullard puts it back out towards the corner of the box. Pedersen won't get there for Rovers, Chimbonda does. Reid returns the ball back in. That's a late challenge. Again, just more of a nudge than really flying in with the boots up. But still, though, it was enough for the referee to give Rovers a free kick.
I think Rovers were lucky there because that ball was going nowhere when Stephen Reid took control, and again a testing ball into the box for Rovers, and a bit of indecision, I thought, maybe from Robbie Savage. Could have watched the flight a little better. Decent enough ball though.
Yeah, I think both central defences have been a bit tentative so far when the strikers have been there. It looks as though Rovers might have to, well, I don't know whether they're going to make a change. Just saw Craig Bellamy taking a layer of clothing off. I think it's just to go for a jog. Free kick whipped in by Savage. Cucci inside the area. Dickoff nearly got there. I think it was a defender's clearance that actually came back off Paul Dickoff and then went over the top of the crossbar. Got a decent free kick in. Cucci did well to hold it up for Rovers. Wouldn't quite come down for him. Paul Dickoff nearly got a huge slice of fortune, but it's just about flown over the bar. And even when you have a look at the replay, there's half a shout there for a Rovers penalty because the defender's arms all over Shevki Cucci. Kizanishvili looked to foul Roberts there. Nothing given by the referee. It was much closer than we are. Cucci at the other end lays it out to Bentley right hand side. McCulloch forces him back. Neil will now hit the early ball forward. Jackson comes out of defence to meet it. Savage strong in the tackle, plays it against the Wigan man. Always seems to end up on the floor, doesn't he, Robbie Savage? Every tackle, he's one of those people that
he hit that with
it has to happen to him.
He hit that with such ferocity. He fouled himself. He ended up going to ground.
Kizanishvili plays it forward. Cucci heads back in field. Dickoff had made the run directly behind him. I think Cucci saying you wanted that one towards his chest rather than being able to flick the ball on. Pollitt now outside his area, not the best of kicks. He gets lucky inside the centre circle. Bullard finds Kavanagh, and now Chimbonda looks a little bit wider and finds Gary Teal, invited to run at the fullback for the first time. Doesn't take up the opportunity, went in field. It's still fallen for Wigan. Nelson got a foot in there for Rovers. Kavanagh now looks up towards Roberts. For once he was disinterested, as was Dickoff on halfway. Jackson wins the header easily, miscontrol by Chimbonda. Reid will find Pedersen, who in turn plays it against Gary Teal, and it's out for a Rovers throw.
Now, if you were a neutral coming here for the first time to watch football, what would you say about these two teams? Which team is 5th in the division? Which team is 11th?
Well, I think the way the first half has panned out on the balance of play, there's probably not been a massive amount between the two sides. Rovers have created the best opportunities, taken one of those, although I have to say it's more a half chance than a chance, but a great finish from Morten Gamps Pedersen. Still Wigan 0, Rovers 1. Roberts controls the ball inside the centre circle, looks towards the left hand side. Bullard skips away from the tackle of Neil. Can he keep it in? He's now faced by Savage. He does do. Whip ball in early on. Kizanishvili's header not the most convincing. It falls far side towards Teal. Has Pedersen for company. Drags the ball back and now makes a move towards the outside. Whips it in. Good cross towards the middle. Camera rises. Falls from McCulloch with a shot. Good chance on the volley. Didn't make the cleanest of contact. It was down into the ground, and thankfully for Rovers, straight at Brad Friedel.
Well, Lee McCulloch will be furious there. He didn't make better contact. It was a bit fortuitous when the ball fell to him, but if he'd have caught that with anything like the right sort of contact on his boot, then we'd have been looking at an equaliser from Wigan with just 7 minutes to go before the break. And I can't really say that that's what Wigan deserve on the balance of play. They've had a good few minutes, a nice little purple patch, but certainly the balance of play favours Rovers, as does the scoreline.
Friedel's long kick forward, falls for Pedersen, touch isn't the best, and Chimbonda clears, only as far as Neil. He goes down the line towards Bentley, takes the ball and gets it under control finally, then flicks it behind him, goes back in field to Stephen Reid. He's now looking for options. Neil is available right hand side. Unusually quiet game for Lucas Neil so far. Can't really remember him getting beyond David Bentley at any point in this match. Dickoff comes short, returns it to the Australian. Missed out on Rovers' last game through suspension. His ball back down the line towards Paul Dickoff is a poor one, and it's out for a Wigan throw. And
immediately Mark Bowen and Mark Hughes jump up off the bench and say to Lucas Neil, what was the faffing about for there? Why didn't you play the ball into the box? And Paul Dickoff having to come deep to pick up that ball is not what you want.
Bentley takes it down on his chest from the throw, plays it central towards Cucci, just goes over his head, and composed defending from Matt Jackson returns it to Mike Pollitt in Wigan's goal.
Relatively quiet game for Shevki.
Hasn't quite happened for him yet. Rovers of course got a great option on the bench with Craig Bellamy. You know, if and when the game gets to its latter stages and Rovers need to maybe offer a bit more of an attacking threat, What an opportunity, what a player to be able to bring on. Savage with a poor pass to the right hand side, and the management team immediately throw their arms down in frustration. That was a chance for Rovers, would have been 4-on-4. A long clearance now at the other end, which Camera trying to get in goal side of Kizanishvili. Kizanishvili holds him up momentarily. Camera still going on his right foot, pulls it wide of goal. In the end, it's taken a touch of the Rovers man, and it will be a Wigan corner.
Well, I don't know how that managed to take a touch. He seemed to be clear. But Rovers have really got to control this game where it matters in midfield, and that was a really wasted pass from Robbie Savage. It had no way was it going to reach David Bentley, and as a result of that, Wigan come upfield and now have a corner.
Whip ball in towards the middle. The head goes up off the line by Michael Gray. Good defending. Dejeu's been denied. Fired in at the near post by Bullard. Hits the side netting. Never really any danger to Brad Friedel's goal. Second time of asking, but there certainly was from the corner. Great delivery. Dejeu rose the highest above everybody. Edge of the 6-yard box. Arrowing into the corner of goal. Michael Gray stood his position on the goal line and headed away to safety.
Well, for a long time, Rovers didn't seem to like having men on the line, either for set pieces or for corners, and just look how it paid off there, because that was heading to an area that Brad Friedel would never have got to in a million New Year's Eves.
Good clearance and escape for Rovers at the moment. More hanging on to half-time. Just over 3 minutes remaining. Still Wigan 0, Rovers 1, but the home side certainly caused Rovers much more problems in the last 20 minutes. After the earlier period of the game was dominated by Mark Hughes' side. Friedel kicks long upfield, looking for Cucci, beaten in the air by Dejeu. That's perhaps where the game's changed. Rovers struggling to hold the ball up inside Wigan territory at the moment. Kavanagh looks long towards Teal. It's come outside of his left foot and gone straight through to Brad Friedel. He rolls it down towards Ryan Nelson. Two centre-backs have struggled to cope. More Kizanishvili, I think, has struggled to cope with Camera so far in this match, especially the last few minutes. Cucci battling in for Rovers while 3 men go to ground. I think the free kick has gone against the Finnish striker. Again, he shows his frustration. Pounds his fist down on his thigh, but I think maybe on that occasion he did just clip the back of the heels of, I think Dejeu it was in there. McCulloch, maybe he's just limping a little bit at the moment.
Now, how much will Paul Jewell have instilled in his Wigan players that if they happen to be behind, then Rovers are very vulnerable at this time in the game?
I think Wigan are very good at scoring at this time of the game as well. Just before and just after half-time. So Rovers throw. Maybe important few moments in this match. Just over 2 minutes left at half-time. Neil throws down the line. McCulloch heads out for another Rovers throw. And this will suit Rovers. I'm sure they prefer to have it 50 yards further upfield, deep inside Wigan territory. The Australian again looks long. Baines heads down. Cucci infield towards Bentley. Nice control, turning away from Bullard. Still going down the right-hand side. He's moved away from Dejeu. Now just faced by Baines. Great ball in. Pedersen attacks. Chests it down. Won't fall for Dickoff. Wonderful work from David Bentley on the right-hand side. He's threatened to do that the whole of the first half. When he finally did do so, nearly created a decent chance for Rovers. Reid now picks up. He's got Bentley right-hand side. Neil also available. The fullback now does want to come forward. Fancies the cross, laid towards Bentley, skips it back on his left foot, again brings in Lucas Neal. Reid's available, Dickoff inside the box, half a yard offside. It will be a Wigan free kick.
Well, that time I really didn't see Paul Dickoff offside. Thought it was another great ball from Lucas Neal, and I thought Paul Dickoff had timed his run perfectly there. It'd be interesting to see a replay. He says it was twice to the assistant on this near side that the decision has been the wrong one. I think on that occasion I feel that a side on Paul Dickoff's favour.
Well, Rovers have another throw down the right hand side, just inside their own half. Again Lucas Neal will take, looks down the line. Cucci's made himself available, it goes beyond him. Dejeu left footed will clear back up to the halfway line. Nice touch by Reid, brings it down, looks for Bentley, intercepted by McCulloch, out for a Rovers throw inside the final 30 seconds of the first half now.
Stephen Reid seems to have come into this game a lot more in the last few minutes.
Well, he's done well that holding role in midfield. I'm sure he'll much rather be more adventurous, and he's produced a two-guy-esque pass now towards Bentley right hand side. Rovers have options, it's chipped in. Dickoff was free in the middle, Pollitt drops, Savage is there. Free kick given against the Rovers man for a foul on Mike Pollitt. But David Bentley, so many options with a pass. Great ball from Stephen Reid initially. Dickoff went towards the near post. Bentley instead decided to go to the far, and in the end the foul committed, I think, by Shev Kikuchi.
Another good move from Rovers though.
Could have done better though.
Indecision in the Wigan box. He doesn't look entirely confident, does he, Pollitt, when he faced with situations like that.
Nelson clears long upfield. There's 1 minute of added time at the end of this first half, and we are in the additional 60 seconds now. Dickoff just touches the ball back down towards Bentley. Behind him, McCulloch finds Baines down the left-hand side towards Camera. Kizanishvili should get there for Rovers. Returns it to Brad Friedel. Awkward one, it was bouncing, and his clearance wasn't the best. He was lucky it went straight to Stephen Reid. Is being told to take his time. Now right-footed, he will launch one long upfield. Agricultural, straight towards Kuchi. The flicked header goes on. Savage gives chase. Chimbonda, equally as unfootballing, puts it high in the air, taken down by Bullard, who is a decent little footballer. Roberts trying to get in now right-hand side, beyond Gray, good defending. Nelson will return the ball to the full-back for Rovers. Referee Mark Clattenburg decide that's enough for the first half here at the JJB Stadium. A decent first half for Rovers. They started off very brightly and took the lead just inside the opening quarter of an hour. Dickoff's left-footed cross from the right-hand corner of the penalty area, chipped to the back post. It took a flick of Shev Kikuchi from an almost impossible angle. Morton Gams Pedersen volleyed back beyond Mike Pollitt into the opposite top corner to give Rovers the lead. Wigan the closest they came 4 minutes before the end of the first half. Bullard's corner met with a header from Aryan Dazu. Michael Gray cleared off the line for Rovers. Half-time at the JJB. It's Wigan 0, Rovers 1. Be nice to start 2006 in the top half, definitely, and Rovers so far doing what they have to do to ensure that happens. The second half about to get underway at the JJB Stadium. Rovers will kick from right to left towards the 5,000 plus fans that they brought here for the final game of 2005. The referee Mark Clattenburg gets us underway. Rovers in their away kit, the black and silver. Wigan their home tops, blue and white vertical stripes, blue shorts, white socks. Gray for Rovers, looks down the line. We'll run down the two teams for you in a second, but both of them unchanged from the first half. Savage shoots from distance while it was going a mile wide, but it's taken a deflection, and Rovers have rather fortuitously got a corner out of that one.
Well, when Robbie Savage pulled his right boot back, I thought, this is it. This is Robbie Savage's first goal, a year and 3 days since he scored his last Premiership goal. And once again, a defender's boots got in the way. If it's not the post or the bar, it's a boot.
Pedersen with a corner from the left-hand side in towards the near post, cleared high into the air by Kavanagh. It will come down to just about on the halfway line. Gray gets ahead for Rovers. Savage puts it high in there, appeals for a free kick. It was a high foot by a Wigan man. Well, Rovers have got a throw which they want to take quickly, and which Pedersen did do. I think he's just stolen about 2 yards, and the referee will make him take it again. He was unlucky because a quick throw had released Paul Dick off edge of the box. Good thinking by Rovers, but they've been forced to take that one again.
Lively start for Rovers in the second half of this game at the JJB Stadium. Rovers leading by 1-0.
And Michael Gray takes the throw down the line. Rovers halfway towards their third away Premiership victory of the season. It all seemed so difficult up until the middle of December when Rovers were beaten at Fulham, and since then 2 victories on the road at Middlesbrough, 2 clean sheets to boot. And here at the JJB they lead by 1-0. Wigan's throw down the line. Nelson rises, looked like a foul on camera. Play goes on and he goes in field. Bullard chips towards the left-hand side. Baines and Bentley will rise. Bentley gets ahead on that for Rovers. Well, Dickoff hadn't made a move in field, and it's won back by the home side. McCulloch now just pumps it forward. Kizanishvili heads down. Pedersen should clear. Right-footed. It's a long ball over the top. Deziu and Dickoff will give chase. Dickoff makes sure he doesn't foul his man, forces Deziu and then Baines to play the ball up towards halfway. Neil misses his header. Reid will come across and retrieve for Rovers. He returns right hand side. Deziu again there in the air. Needs someone to put the foot on the ball. Finally David Bentley does do so, making his way down the line. He's being fouled all the way. It's a Rovers free kick. Much better from the wide midfielder.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say there. David Bentley showing a lot more skill there, and I think David Bentley needs to now really exert his influence on this game for Rovers. And bearing in mind that the on-loan midfielder has displaced Brett Emerton, I think he needs to show why he's displaced Brett Emerton.
Free kick from the right-hand side, which Pedersen will take. Left-footed, whipped in, the heads go up. Kizanishvili had made a move forward. It doesn't quite reach him. Bentley wins it back for Rovers, returns it out to the right-hand side into the Norwegian, the Rovers goal scorer. Goes forward, looking for Reid, doesn't quite get there, and Teal goes back. Baines looks long forward towards camera. Neil takes down. Nice 1-2 with Michael Gray, and now the Australian should clear. He goes square across the park towards Savage. Still midway inside the Rovers half. He goes all the way back to Brad Friedel. There weren't too many options there for the Welshman. I think he got a call from Mark Hughes saying, why on earth are you putting your goalkeeper under pressure? Get the ball forward. Play the game in Wigan's half. That's what Rovers struggled to do at the end of the opening 45 minutes, something they'd done so well at the beginning of the game. Wigan have a throw far side. Baines will take. Back he goes towards Deziu, the captain, the Dutchman, veteran central defender. Deep into his 30s now. Still can perform at Premiership level though. It's amazing to think that Portsmouth let him go. Just fell out of favour with Alan Perron at the time, who was the Portsmouth boss. As we say, Harry Redknapp, who brings the Portsmouth side to Ewood Park on Monday night, would dearly love to still have him there, but he's a linchpin in Wigan's defence, and while there's a little break in play, Rovers have a throw inside their own half. Will run down the Wigan side. They'll line up with Pollitt in goal, a back four of Chimbonda, Jackson, Deziu and Baines. The midfield right to left, Teal, Bullard, Kavanagh, and on the left hand side Lee McCulloch. Up front Jason Roberts and Henri Camera. Rovers free kick. I'll quickly give you their lineup. Brad Friedel in goal, Neil Kizanishvili, Nelson Gray. The midfield right to left is Bentley, Reid, Savage, Pedersen. Up front, Cucci and Dickoff.
This is where I'd like to see Rovers really exerting their influence on this game now, with an early second goal that would really show the pressure that Rovers have put Wigan under throughout this game.
Neil's free kick falls edge of the box to Pedersen. He chested the ball down, That went for an ambitious shot. Right distance for him, but he was always leaning back, and it was going to be a difficult one on the half volley. He was having to generate his own pace and power, and in the end it's come off the outside of his foot and gone behind for a Wigan goal kick.
Didn't even seem to have the confidence himself there that ball was going to go where he wanted it to go. Almost a resignation with his arms and shoulder shrugged.
Friedel kicks upfield for Rovers. Bentley tries to take down. It's come off the on-loan midfielder, of course. He's here for a year from Arsenal. Just about getting a run in the side now, isn't he? Not quite a settled position. We're seeing 1 week right midfield, 1 week up front. Certainly contributing to the success we've had last few games. Roberts now trying to get inside the Rovers penalty area, trying to bundle his way through. Camera's there. Reid comes in, takes the ball away from him. Does well in the end. It was one of those where the Rovers defenders looked scared to really throw themselves into the challenge for fear of giving away a penalty, and in the end it was just a sheer mass of bodies that helped Rovers clear the danger, and then up over halfway, Dickoff's persistence on Deziu has won Rovers a throw.
Well, I think there was a bit of fouling going on in the box there from Wigan. I think had anything come of their half-hearted attempt at a shot on goal, I think the referee might well have blown up there, because it seemed to me that both Roberts...
Great diagonal ball from Neil towards Pedersen. He heads it back towards Michael Gray. Cucci far side is calling for the ball, but Gray has to turn around when he's faced up by Gary Teal. Reid goes back towards Ryan Nelson, left-footed, he plays it forward, appeals for offside. It came off Bullard though, and the flag for the initial pass forward from Nelson has caught a Rovers man offside. There was chances to get the ball into the box there. Rovers perhaps at the moment trying to play a little bit too much football. Noticeable as well, I look on the just below us on this near side, that Craig Bellamy has most of his tracksuit off. Just doing a little bit of warming up. You wouldn't think it would be too long before we see the Welsh striker. He made such an impact when he came on at Middlesbrough. A long ball forward. Kavanagh heads down the left-hand side and flicked forward. Camera was well offside for Wigan. The assistant's flag goes up. The home fans don't like it, but he was clearly a couple of yards offside.
He was a couple of yards offside there. Turned quickly. When the ball was played, he was miles offside. And is he still wearing those tights?
So long kick forward from Brad Friedel. Bentley, nice trick, moves right hand side. There's men in the middle, whip ball in towards, well, there are three of them there. Might fall edge of the box for Reid, who strikes. Oh, that's just sensational from Stephen Reid. It's his first goal of this season, and it is an absolute thunderbolt. Great delivery in from Bentley, well defended in the end by Wigan, but Stephen Reid just wanted to get there first, did do ahead of Kavanagh, and from the edge of the D he has rifled it into the top corner. Two stunning goals here at the JJB Stadium. 8 minutes into the second half, it's Wigan 0, Rovers 2.
Well, I've had a little challenge going with Stephen Reid all season that he needed to score. He was the top scorer in pre-season, and when he hit that one, I saw my challenge disappearing into the ether. But what a way for it to go. Stephen Reid has just struck the most sublime shot, which has arrowed into the top left-hand corner of the Wigan goal, and is one of the finest strikes you'll see in football all this season and next.
Well, we could almost have a goal of the season competition so far, the number of quality strikes Rovers have had in the first half of this campaign. Wonderful effort from Stephen Reid though, wasn't it? What a way to get off the mark for this campaign. Neil will now look forward right-footed, and all of a sudden Rovers totally in control of this game. Wigan, who'd ended the first half so well, have been caught by Rovers, who've come out flying for this second period and got a crucial second goal, and all of a sudden you're hoping this might be a pretty comfortable afternoon for Rovers, and they're on the verge of their third straight away victory, which would have seemed almost unthinkable a few weeks ago.
Stephen Reid, 50th start for Rovers this afternoon, and the leading scorer pre-season for Rovers hasn't yet found the net in Premiership football until this afternoon. And not only did he find it, he nearly tore it.
And it's a good job it did end up in the back of the net, 'cause if it hadn't, it would have got back to Blackburn. How hard he struck the ball. That's about as clean as a hit as you're ever going to see in football.
well, it was just perfect. It just arrowed straight into the top corner of the goal, and I've got to say that hardly moved any height. It just was absolute arrow perfect. Well done, Stephen Reid.
Well, Tugay and Robbie Savage are normally the first pick for Rovers in centre midfield. Stephen Reid getting his chance because of Tugay's suspension. All of a sudden we're almost thinking that maybe having the Sunderland game called off wasn't so bad. Stephen Reid, his place might have been at risk here this afternoon with Tugay, who would have been back from his ban. Strange game, this football, isn't it? Strange how it's worked out. Looked like handball against camera. The referee has seen that one and given Rovers the decision. There'll be a plethora of substitutions just past the 10-minute mark in this second half. Wigan desperately trying to get back into this game. It's Wigan Athletic 0, Rovers 2. They're going to take off Jason Kavanagh. On will come Damien Francis, the former Norwich City man, in his place. The second change will be David Connolly coming on, the former Leicester City striker. Coming off will be number 20, Gary Teal. And Rovers themselves are going to make a change, and this isn't a bad substitute to have either. Craig Bellamy, number 11, coming on. It's been an interesting year for Craig Bellamy. Oh, we'd love to end it on a high. It's Paul Dickoff going off. No surprises there, I don't think. I know you mentioned Paul Dickoff was again under the weather, so he'll go off. Craig Bellamy's going to get half an hour plus here for Rovers, hoping he can end 2005 in a spectacular way, as Morten Jans Pedersen and Stephen Reid have already done here this afternoon for Rovers. It's nice to see Craig coming on. It's good that he's going to get a little more than he did at Middlesbrough last time out, and he'll certainly cause the Wigan defence lots of different problems.
Well, what a great reception. You know, these are Rovers fans, 5,000 of them, cheering every moment of Rovers play this afternoon, from the Paul Dickoff substitution to the Craig Bellamy introduction and the Stephen Reid goal. Well, I'll tell you something now, if you don't get a chance to see that before Monday night, come along to Ewood, because we'll be showing it you over and over again on Rovers World and Rovers.co.uk and on Rover Vision. 7:35 kickoff, kids for £1. Oh, come on, we must have a decent attendance at Ewood Park on Monday, because this could be quite a remarkable time for Rovers.
Pedersen left on side, receives the ball back from Michael Gray from a throw-in. Gray goes back to Stephen Reid, scorer of a spectacular second goal here at the JJB Stadium. That's given Rovers a 2-0 advantage. Well, at half-time you did worry, because Wigan had ended the first half so well, but what a response from Mark Hughes' side at the beginning of the second. Chimbonda looks forward, Savage wins the header. Pedersen will go down the line, asking Kuchi to chase. It's going to run away from him, and it will be out for a Wigan throw. What was the most, I suppose, satisfying thing from the Stephen Reid goal is you look at the number of men Rovers actually had inside the penalty area when Wigan initially cleared it, and then there was still your other central midfielder coming onto the edge of the box, attacking the ball and ultimately scoring a wonderful goal.
Well, the interesting thing there, and we'll talk to Stephen Reid afterwards and find out about that goal, was that really at one stage I didn't think he was going to be the first to the ball, and I wonder if he just maybe started to stick out a foot more in hope and anticipation than anything else, and just happened to connect so sweetly. If it did, I don't think Stephen would tell us that. I think he'll say meant it to go there.
Well, it's certainly the best goal he scored for Blackburn Rovers by some distance as well. It's a wonderful, wonderful strike. Still over half an hour left here at the JJB, and Rovers will be hoping to turn a good afternoon so far into a great one. 3 points now is the most important thing. You have to take advantage when you score 2 goals like that. Gray now coming forward for Rovers, opens up, chance for his first goal. He strikes right-footed, a yard over the crossbar. You're always worried when he had to take it onto his right foot. It's not the most natural. He needed no second invitation to make the run forward. It just parted like the Red Sea, didn't it? From the edge of the box, struck well, but it was never testing Mike Pollitt.
Well, Michael Gray's never afraid either to advance on goal. I think a lot of people felt that he might be on the... I'll just break off for a second.
At the other end, McCulloch comes forward for Wigan. Francis takes over. Finds Baines. Bullard now playing centre midfield alongside Francis. Chimbonda comes forward on the right hand side. Savage tracks his run. Infield he goes. Reid tries to get there. Stops the cross coming in, and Brad Friedel is able to watch it go just over his crossbar. Great pressure though from Rovers. You saw there when Wigan played it out to the right hand side. Initially Savage was out to close him down, and as soon as it was laid back to Bullard, Reid was sprinting 15 yards to get there. It's certainly not of the attitude and opinion at the moment that job is done here at the JJB Stadium. Rovers still look a very, very hungry side.
They do look very hungry indeed, and Stephen Reid epitomised that with that run. I noticed that as well. He charged across the pitch, no chance of getting the ball indeed, but the thing that he was prepared to do was go and cause pressure for the Wigan player. Exactly what happened.
Pollock kicks long upfield. No blame attached to him for either of Rovers' 2 goals. He's just been beaten by 2 fantastic finishes. Chimbonda down the right hand side. Savage comes in, made no contact on the Wigan man. It will be a free kick to the home side. I think it was Morten Pedersen who initially fouled him. He's made himself pretty...
Robbie Savage doesn't do any favours, does he, by telegraphing and waving his arms up. He'd have been far better put his arms by his side and waiting for the referee to make a decision. No yellow card so far for Mark Clattenburg, and has refereed this game well.
Bullard chips the ball in. Friedel comes, gets a wonderful punch. It falls for Baines about 35 yards out. Total miss hit with his clearance, and now Rovers are breaking forward. Bentley, right hand side, frees Bellamy. Both Reid and Savage trying to get in the box. Bellamy towards the byline, looks to square the ball. Couldn't quite get enough purchase on it to pull it back towards Stephen Reid and Robbie Savage. Both central midfielders, the most advanced men trying to get into the penalty area for Rovers. Great to see. Camera now runs forward at the other end. Maybe this game's opening up. He skips past Gray. Pedersen doing a great job defensively though. He plays it down the line. Camera with a late slide in there. Didn't make contact on the Rovers man. He's probably lucky. It looked like a frustrated challenge. Bullard takes over. Finds Baines. He goes forward towards McCulloch. Neil easily robs him of the ball. Again now he looks forward. Bellamy desperate to get involved. Neil still coming. Just taken off him by Leighton Baines. He looks as though he's struggling. He might have nicked a hamstring or something there. Francis looks forward. McCulloch goes left to right to Chimbonda. Back in field towards Jimmy Bullard. Chimbonda's continued his run. Instead it goes to Camera, twist, turns, back to Bullard, still Chimbonda available down the line. That's where the ball goes, as Michael Gray tight behind him. Bullard in field, good slide by Pedersen, and the ball falls nicely for Cucci. He tries to burst through a couple of challenges. Camera takes over. Looking for options down the right hand side. Chimbonda makes a run, Camera goes in field, might fall edge of the box, and McCulloch who strikes. Decent hit, Wigan's best move of this second half. But it's high and wide of Brad Friedel's goal.
Well, Rovers just lost possession there when he felt that Chef Shikuchi had control of that ball, and got to be very, very careful, Rovers, because Wigan will pile the pressure on now. I think there's no escaping the fact that Wigan will throw everything at Rovers, and what you've got to hope is that maybe Craig Bellamy with his pace can try and nick something up front. You notice there that every single Rovers player was back in his own half.
Friedel kicks forward, Cucci beaten in the air. Lucas Neal will return down the right hand side, flicked on by David Bentley. Bellamy won't get there, headed away from him by Jackson. Wigan looking to come forward, a long ball over the top towards Roberts, who's got in goal side of Kizanishvili. He holds it up well, left hand side of the penalty area, flicks it back onto his right foot, twists and turns. He's got past Kizanishvili. The ball comes in. Nelson heads away for Rovers. Kizanishvili beaten 2 or 3 times there by Jason Roberts. Bentley tries to play it forward. Comes off Leighton Baines. It might drift out far side. He's got beyond Bentley and Cucci. Neither of them wanted the ball. Infield towards Roberts. Now inside the box. Goes past Kizanishvili. Pedersen comes across. And then it's finally cleared behind. And it will be a Wigan corner. A couple of risky Rovers challenges though, just inside the penalty area. Ryan Nelson finally on hand to clear the danger.
This is going to be dangerous for Rovers now, this next couple of minutes. The Wigan crowd tell us that.
Bullard from the far side will take the corner. It's a deep one. Whipped in towards Jackson at the back post. Edge of the penalty area. Savage picks up. That's a much better ball towards David Bentley. Bellamy is on the left-hand side. He wants the pass early. Bentley delays. Bellamy desperately trying to stay on side. Can't thread the ball through. Maybe he should have managed to do so. Cucci holds up, looks down the line towards Savage, looks suspiciously offside. play goes on. Savage will cross it in towards the middle, towards the near post. Easy in the end for Mike Pollitt, but what an opportunity. If only David Bentley would have been able to pick out Craig Bellamy.
I think Craig Bellamy maybe will be making that point to David Bentley, and possibly now that little move from David Bentley may signal the arrival of Brett Emerton. All the players warming up incidentally in their training tabards, and that's because Rovers are playing in a predominantly black strip. So the players for Rovers warming up with yellow tabards and Wigan in orange tabards to differentiate them between the players who are playing on the pitch. Now that's unusual because the official isn't across marshalling the opposite touchline.
65 minutes gone, still Wigan 0, Rovers 2. A cross comes in from the Wigan left. Again it's overhit, straight behind for a Rovers goal kick. Wigan will shortly make their third and final change of the afternoon. Maybe the tired legs starting to show from their point of view. But Rovers are certainly have been well up for this game. Wigan have had the chances, they have caused Rovers problems, especially in that first half, but they didn't take advantage, and Michael Gray with a good clearance off the line from Desiu's header after a corner. Perhaps a key moment in this game. Wigan are going to make a change, and I mentioned that Leighton Baines looked as though he'd pulled up a couple of moments ago, maybe a slight tug on his hamstring. A change is going to be made, and it is David Wright, the former crewman, who's going to come on, and Leighton Baines who will go off. You wonder now whether Mark Hughes is thinking about maybe giving a few players a little rest before Monday night. The games do come thick and fast, or whether he wants to make sure Rovers get the 3 points here. There's still plenty of time left in this game. 22 minutes gone in this second half. Wigan 0, Rovers 2. Bellamy slides in, it doesn't fall for a Rovers man. Stronger tackle from Desiu, and then a long ball over the top which Connolly wants to chase, and then Rovers, everything falling for us at the moment. It hits the back of Ryan Nelson and then rebounds to Michael Gray, who will clear to safety down the left hand side. Cucci rises, heads the ball back in field, just a touch, but no one was there. Bullard, who's been Wigan's best player by quite some distance. He really has looked Premiership material, Jimmy Bullard. He goes forward. Camera will now find Francis. Cost about £1.5 million when he joined from Norwich City in the summer.
And Wigan, of course, looking at another Norwich player. Talk about Dean Ashton possibly coming to the JB Stadium, but Norwich talking about wanting £8 million for a player they only paid £3 million for when they signed him from Crewe.
I was going to say he will cost a lot more than £1.5 million. Gray looks forward, finds Bellamy in space, moves away from Jackson, drifting to this left hand side as he loves to do so. Pedersen has gone in field. Bellamy tries to squeeze the ball through, can't quite manage it. Bullard takes over. Bellamy eager to atone for his misplaced pass, gives chase. Bullard does well, squeezes the ball down the line and finds Connolly. He goes in field towards Francis. It's like a three-pronged attack at the moment from Wigan. Nelson, well, he looked as though he got a touch on the ball there. Jason Roberts went to ground rather easily and does get the decision from referee Mark Clattenburg.
I thought Ryan Nelson was caught badly out of place there, almost on the halfway line, and was charging back with Wigan advancing, and you really do want Ryan Nelson the key in the heart of your defence. It's going to be a tough few minutes for Rovers.
Chimbonda goes infield towards Cameron, who's been much more involved in the link-up play second half, maybe because Connolly's come on. Nelson just wanted the ball more than the Wigan players, so strong in the challenge. A rock at the heart of Rovers' defence, and of course, well, there's a long ball forward. Bellamy will give chase, trying to get there. Desiu comes across, leaves it back to Pollitt. Kick, not the best, but it comes out towards this near side and finds Jackson. Bullard plays it back to his centre half, who is somewhat of a stranger, right hand side, on halfway, forward towards camera though. Nelson there for Rovers, and he's just used his arm to nudge the Senegalese striker over, and it will be a Wigan free kick, and Ryan Nelson not at all happy with that decision.
Well, I think what happened is Ryan Nelson has put his arm to almost counteract a challenge from the Wigan striker, and the Wigan striker's seen Ryan Nelson's arm go up. You're looking at the replay and there's hardly any contact. Looked far worse from where we were than it did when you see the replays.
That's soft, very soft indeed. The last thing Rovers want to do is invite pressure. They'll have to defend from this freak here. Bullard whips it in towards the back post. Good header in the end by Lucas Neal, who managed to run around Chimbonda and flick the ball away far side for a Wigan throw.
Great defensive header from Lucas Neal. Came in there and just literally nipped in front of the Wigan player and was able to head the ball over his head and out for a Wigan throw.
Throw to be taken from the far side. It's a long one hurled into the area. I think it's Jackson who's taken that. Headed away by Rovers, and now Bentley again trying to spring Rovers on a break. If he looks left, there's 2 men over. Forward ball, Bellamy was offside. It's a poor pass in the end because both Savage and Pedersen were giving chase here, and they were in acres of room. There's been a couple of times now where David Bentley's had great opportunities to release Rovers, and he's not been able to pick out the final pass.
Well, first of all, it was a very late pass, but secondly, it was way over hit. And Craig Bellamy would have struggled to find that had he been in an onside position and advancing.
Bentley wins the header, Reid takes over. He's robbed of the ball by Francis, and well, Stephen Reid just got the wrong side of the Wigan midfielder. He's put his arms around him, grappled him to the ground, and it's a Wigan free kick, and there have been a few of those at the moment. Again, pressure on Rovers. Brad Friedel just wants to get a higher line, wants to get his players further away from goal, as Bullard again puts the ball into the area. Kizanishvili heads away. Again, Rovers might fancy the break. Michael Gray, the man steaming forward, he's doing very well, opening play up. Pedersen is left hand side. Again, we can't pick out the pass. He had a choice of 2 and he's got neither. He apologises to both Pedersen and Bellamy.
Well, I think the biggest problem there was he was stuck with a touch of indecision, not quite sure whether to lay it off for Craig Bellamy or Morten Gams Pedersen. Now, what's going to happen here? Oh, that's just totally stupid.
Well, Stephen Reid, I think, has just rolled the ball back towards the assistant referee, just where he thought the throw was going to be taken from. It wasn't, it was 5 yards further forward, and the referee has decided that's a cautionable offence. Bellamy now left hand side, trying to use his pace. He's just overrun that one. It's behind for a Wigan goal kick. Well, Stephen Reid is going to have a mixed afternoon now, because that yellow card means that he will be suspended for next week's FA Cup tie against QPR, just when he breaks into the side and scores an absolutely tremendous goal. He picks up a yellow card, which means he's going to have to sit out a game.
And sadly, it's a yellow card which was totally unnecessary. I didn't even think it warranted a yellow card. I think what's happened there, that's a culmination, because it's the challenge a few moments ago and then a bit of petulance, but quite honestly, nothing major.
That's just frustrating for the midfielder though, isn't it? He's probably guaranteed his place in the starting 11 on Monday night with that goal. Well, that's about as good as it'll get for him, so he'll miss next Saturday. Cucci now coming forward for Rovers, has Bellamy free in the middle if he can spot him. Well, he did well, he managed to make a good 20-30 yards. Just as he looked up to see who was in the middle, the ball was taken away from him by David Wright, and it's out for a Rovers throw.
Not the sort of player you want to have advancing on goal with the ball at his feet when he's 30 yards away into the right hand side and you're expecting a pinpoint accurate cross, is it?
Neil takes the throw, receives the ball back from Bentley. Going in field, the Australian. Nice diagonal ball through towards Cucci, trying to get inside the penalty area. He goes to ground. Not very gentlemanly either. It was very cumbersome the way he fell down there. Camera now tries to break at the other end. Gray does well for Rovers, gets his body in front of the ball, twists away from Camera, and then finds Stephen Reid. Excellent defending from the former Sunderland man.
Who's been magnificent, I've got to say, this afternoon. That misplaced pass was probably the first mistake that Michael Gray's made all afternoon. Really now, considering he was in the wilderness at Leeds last season, has now found himself a Premiership stalwart here in Rovers' side, keeping out Dominic Matteo, who can't get back anywhere near the squad.
I think second half, Rovers as a unit have looked much more comfortable defending against the Wigan strikers. Can remember one shot from McCulloch other than that. Well, we've got 16 and a half minutes left. I still can't remember Brad Friedel having to make a real superstar save. Bullard moving from a right midfield area to a more central position, has his forward pass cut out, and then Savage will find Bentley. Bentley does clip it over the top, this time a much better ball towards Cucci, left hand side of the area. Bellamy desperately trying to get there. Cucci might have to go alone in towards the edge of the box towards Bentley. Again, pass wasn't the best, nearly missed by a Wigan man. Reid will try and get there for Rovers. Crunching tackle between him and Francis. The ball falls for Lucas Neal. The space right hand side, and he might fancy a run at the defence. He's trying to turn past right, gets the cross in towards Cucci. Chimbonda got there. Has he flicked it away? He has done. It's out near side now for a Rovers throw.
That was a great cross from Lucas Neal, an unorthodox winger, a right back who loves coming forward, and that was a terrific cross. And if Shefki Cucci had just pulled off the Wigan defender, he could have maybe just caught that one at the back post. Rovers will make another substitution.
Long throw from Pedersen in the meantime towards Cucci, headed away to the edge of the box. Reid will get there, he lays the ball down, but it's cut out by Bullard. Camera just with a long hopeful punt forward. Roberts flicks on, Connolly will give chase, but Kizanishvili puts it high into the evening air here at the JJB Stadium. Taken down by Wright. Francis will take over, but Wigan more in hope than anything else at the moment, looking forward, not seeing too much. Rovers look much the fitter of the two sides. Well, Mark Hughes has gone on about it, the players have gone on about it, but it certainly backing up the evidence and facts at the moment. A long ball forward, again it's a poor one. Brad Friedel comes to the edge of his penalty area, but will just let that one run behind for a Rovers goal kick.
Well, Rovers now I think have maybe changed their mind. No, it will happen. Brett Emerton is stripping off. I think it's going to be David Bentley, Brett Emerton, the obvious choice now. And Rovers still with Armory there. We've seen one substitution. Craig Bellamy replacing Paul Dickoff. Rovers lead 2-0 here at the JJB Stadium, and we're just a 15-minute spell. No, we've not.
Just under 15 minutes.
Just under 15 minutes left.
Neil battling to get away from Roberts. Does do. Finds Bentley far side. Might be one of his final acts in the game. He's been brought down by McCulloch far side. The referee is going to have a word, and the referee produces a yellow card. Well, I think he now feels that after booking Stephen Reid very, very softly for throwing the ball down, he has to book someone else. Now, really in a game that hasn't needed a yellow card at any stage, he's produced two in a manner of moments, one for each side.
Did seem like quite a wild challenge though on David Bentley, who went to ground very, very quickly.
Neil with a diagonal ball. I don't know if it was after Pedersen, but he was just getting a drink on halfway, and rather fortunately it falls for him. Now left-footed, puts the cross in, good delivery, just needed someone to attack, just a touch beyond Shevki Cucci. Gray for Rovers, wins the ball back. Bentley will get there, Cucci's in the middle, Bellamy is onside, right-hand side, only Cucci available for the cross at the moment. Back towards Michael Gray, right-hand side. Looks lost out there. Goes back to Stephen Reid. Savage had made a run forward. Still Michael Gray. I still don't know how he's managed to get out there. What he's doing out there. Rovers have eventually got a throw which will allow the fullback to come back across to his more natural position.
Maybe you thought he was the one that was going to be substituted and wanted to keep well out of the eye. No, it's going to be David Bentley, I'm sure, with Brett Emerton, but Brett Emerton has now joined David Thompson on the touchline, and they're still warming up.
Pedersen tries a trick to get past Chimbonda. Chimbonda's quick though, he turns and wins the ball back. Jackson looks towards Connolly. Gray again snapping at his heels, and Michael Gray has just forced the error from the Wigan man. He looked back towards Chimbonda, misplaced the pass, and it's out for a Rovers throw. There's been so much positive in this Rovers performance, especially second half.
I think they've been by far the better side. I don't think Wigan have shown anything like the footballing skills that Rovers have shown, and we've also scored two brilliant goals.
Gray now, corner of the penalty area, looking to go infield. He looks for the return pass, still edge of the box, slides in, doesn't get anything on the ball. McCulloch clears it up towards halfway. Gray still down. Bentley goes all the way back. Neil is the last man for Rovers. Well, Michael Gray seems intent on getting his first Rovers goal. I don't think I've ever seen him so attacking.
Well, I think everybody was expecting that maybe Sunderland would be the game where he'd score his first goal. I know one or two people had a couple of quid on Michael Gray scoring. Not me, I hasten to add, not a gambling man.
Well, a chip ball forward from Wigan, who look a beaten side at the moment, don't they? Nothing seems to be finding their own players, and they've had a wonderful start to this season in the top flight. They've had a wonderful 2005, but at the moment Rovers are going to spoil the end of their year and make it a very, very happy one back in Blackburn.
Well, I hope so anyway. One player we haven't mentioned much, and that's almost a disrespectful thing to happen, is Zurab Kishnashvili, because he's been magnificent.
He has struggled at times, but he's been much better, as we say, second half. Pedersen now left hand side for Rovers. It's almost wave after wave of Rovers attack. Bellamy inadvertently helps the ball back to Michael Gray. He tries to cross, it comes off Chimbonda. It's out for a Rovers corner.
And every time Rovers attack, you see the Wigan knees start to knock, and the Rovers crowd behind that goal are almost sucking the ball into the back of the net.
Just all looks a bit too easy at the moment for Rovers. Gray will cross in. Kizanishvili is forward. It just goes beyond him. Kuchi will keep the ball in far side. He has Wright for company. Oh, he goes past him with a lovely trick and then stops, goes back towards the edge of the penalty area in Kizanishvili. Not the best of touches. Returns it to Kuchi, right hand side. Reed makes a good burst forward. It's chipped in towards Savage, edge of the box. Cleared finally by a combination of Bullard and Chimbonda. Nelson steps in for Rovers. Gray's there again. Down the left hand side he goes. Finds Bellamy. Bellamy has Pedersen more advanced. Bellamy might fancy going himself. He's desperate for options. Savage makes himself available. Hilo goes back to Gray, who in turn just runs again down the left hand side. Bellamy takes over. Pedersen is free. Gray is in field. He tried to feed it through to Michael Gray. Bellamy stands on the ball. No Wigan challenge comes in. He's still not touched it again. Toying with them, Craig Bellamy. A 1-2 between him and Michael Gray. Olay stuff from Rovers at the moment. You know, I always said things happen to Robbie Savage. Well, when he passes the ball, he slips over. Savage goes back to Nelson, and attendance of 20,500 here. Chip ball forward. Michael Gray finds himself offside. As we say, he's desperate for that goal. 10 minutes left. Rovers leading Wigan by 2-0 at the moment, coasting towards 3 points.
I just worry a little bit about this coasting. It was a bit of showboating there from Rovers, and at one stage when Ryan Nelson had the ball, I thought it just needs a minute slip and you have two Wigan players who are ready to pounce, and that's the last thing Rovers want, to endure the last 10 minutes of this game with pressure from Wigan having pulled one goal back.
I mean, how good a result would this be? Coming to Wigan, 5th place in the Premiership. They've got a wonderful home record.
Well, I think it's magnificent. I think also that Wigan were quite disappointed about the referee for today's game, because they've never, it seems, had a particularly good game, with Mark Clattenburg refereeing Wigan at home.
Pedersen looks forward. He'll give chase himself. Pollitt comes to the goal line and just lets the ball go beyond him. Out for a Wigan goal kick. Not that Rovers will mind. At the moment, Wigan just can't get inside Rovers' half, can they? There's just no signs at the moment that we're going to try and muster something in the final 8.5 minutes here.
I think I see what from Rovers now, the absolute will and determination to stand tight against this Wigan attack, and Zurab Kishnashvili there just encouraging all his defensive partners there to really concentrate over this last few minutes and make sure that there are no mistakes.
Camera goes inside the penalty area. Connolly lays it off to McCulloch, back into the box towards Roberts, cut out by Gray, who's had an exceptional game at left fullback. Pedersen looks forward, great ball towards Kuchi, can't take it in his stride. Hand on heads from Mark Hughes. It was a great ball from Pedersen, applauded by Kuchi. If he had have done, there's always that threat on the break, isn't there?
I thought the ball, when Stephen Reid picked up that ball and threaded it to Michael Gray and the ball was out to Kuchi, I thought there we stood a really good chance of getting something even better from this.
Chance for Wigan inside the penalty area. It fell luckily for them. Connolly was in there. That was a chance to make it a grandstand finish, and Brad Friedel saves Rovers. The first clear sight of goal they've had really in the whole match, and David Connolly has wasted the opportunity, or should I say been denied, by a great save from Brad Friedel.
Well, Brad Friedel just threw himself at that shot from David Connolly. The ball broke very kindly to Wigan in the box, and Connolly was there with an opportunity to strike it cleanly, and Brad Friedel was so quickly off his line and smothered the ball. Didn't make an orthodox save, caught it with his body, but stopped the ball going into the back of the net, and Rovers still lead 2-0.
Maybe that was the danger. Bellamy nutmegs Jackson, might have been a foul on him. Dejew comes across, or it's actually come back off the Wigan man, and it's out for a Rovers corner. It's been given a goal kick, when we could see from here that it should have been a Rovers corner. I don't suppose you mind when you're winning 2-0.
Oh yes, you mind.
Well, Rovers going to make their second change of the afternoon. It's Morten Pedersen who's going to go off very cleverly. He's just getting as far away from play as possible, and now he'll very gently move back towards the near side as we look. Brett Emerton will get the final 6 minutes or so. Well, Morten has had a magical 2005. His first game of the year started with a bang, a goal at Cardiff. It's ended with an even better goal here at Wigan Athletic, which should set Rovers on their way to 3 points at the JJB Stadium.
Well, I hope so now. Clock ticks away, 6 minutes of normal time remaining for Rovers to hang on, but I've got to say it doesn't do them any justice saying hang on, does it? Because they've dominated this second half from start to finish.
They're looking for more. Bellamy wants a goal. He's one-on-one with Jackson. Goes in field. It might open up for him. Goes past Azew. Still trying to get there, Bellamy. Oh, it was a mazy run. Still might fall in the box. Bellamy completes a wonderful afternoon for Rovers. He started off initially with a wonderful run. Got a lucky ricochet on the edge of the penalty area. But when it bubbled back through to him, it was a clinical finish from Rovers' top scorer. It's Bellamy with Rovers third. It will be 3 points on the final day of 2005. It's Wigan Athletic 0, Blackburn Rovers 3.
Well, not the cleanest of the 3 goals Rovers have scored this afternoon, and the Wigan players are appealing for offside, but Craig Bellamy made that one with an absolutely mazy run, and then the ball just broke free to him in the centre of the Wigan box, and well, was he offside? It looked to be miles offside.
I think the ball's come back off the Wigan man. That's the thing, it comes back off Chimbonda, doesn't it? Or maybe Francis in the middle, so he is quite clearly onside. An excellent decision from the assistant. I'm not sure how much of that he would have seen, but it did. Cucci, I think, tried to lay it back. It came off the Wigan man, and that released Craig Bellamy. And what a clinical minute finished to make it 3-0 to Rovers with just 5 minutes remaining.
Well, this just really stamps Rovers' authority on this game. It's not a scoreline that flatters the way Rovers have played.
Well, it's going to be Rovers' biggest away victory of the season. We've got the previous one, of course, at Middlesbrough. Last time out, they've won 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 in 3 consecutive games. There might still be hope for Wigan. Connolly, though, flashed offside at the other end. And it will be a Rovers free kick. The home crowd not liking the decisions from the opposite assistant referees at the moment. It's all going in Rovers' favour, as Rovers will prepare to make their final change of the afternoon. David Bentley is the man who's going to go off. David Thompson will come on. But this has been a wonderful end to a very, very good year for Rovers.
You couldn't ask for more. They've come here now looking at a team who are riding high, 5th in the division, Rovers 11th. Wigan with a wonderful home record. Wigan, who've dug themselves out of the mire of the 5-game unbeaten run, had a wonderful run at the start of the season, then a successive 5-game defeat, and then scoring goals for fun. And what's happened today is they faced a Blackburn Rovers side who've beaten them in every single department. They've scored 3 quite wonderful goals, well, 2 wonderful goals and 1 almost a tap-in from Craig Bellamy, but they've dominated, particularly in the second half, and I think Wigan will not find harder opposition in the whole of the year.
Might still be more here for Rovers. Cucci now trying to get in inside the penalty area, left-footed. It's blocked by Chimbonda. Bellamy picks up. Oh, it is Ole stuff. A back heel towards Emerton. Whips the cross in low towards Cucci. Will come out back to this left-hand side. And Craig Bellamy again stands on the ball, almost arrogantly teasing the Wigan defence. Back it goes towards Robbie Savage. He's on halfway. He in turn feeds Ryan Nelson. Connolly gives chase. But it's easy for Rovers. Nelson's pass, though, is misplaced. Bullard picks up Chimbonda now forward. Should be comfortable for the Kiwi Nelson. He finds Stephen Reid, whose goal came at a crucial time in this match. What a wonderful goal it was as well. His 50th start for Blackburn Rovers, and he's marked it with a quite tremendous goal. Craig Bellamy has gone on to seal the 3 points for Rovers with just 6 minutes remaining. There's a couple left now, but it will be 3 points. It will be a marvellous end to 2005.
And what do you say about these fans? Well, bulled up by the half-price pies.
They've been in wonderful voice. They've given the team great encouragement, and they've been rewarded with a fantastic performance. Camera far side, trying to twist and turn past the combination of Neal and Thompson. The Rovers players win it back. Thompson goes back in field, manages to give the ball to Francis. I think he was looking for Savage.
At what price Robbie Savage scoring in the last minute?
Absolutely none at this stage. He's sitting back. He's had enough of the forward runs. He doesn't need to make them. Save your energy now.
I'll tell you something.
I'll say that. He's still charging after the ball. Emerton slides in. Savage will pick it up for Rovers. Find Gray. Gray goes in field. It just runs away from Reid. Reid strong in the tackle. Kizanishvili will cover for Rovers under pressure from Roberts. Calmly
brilliantly
finds Michael Gray.
Brilliantly from Kishnashvili.
Gray goes long up towards halfway. Great chest down by Kuchar, brings Emerton into play, invited to run down the left hand side. He just tries to bundle his way past Jackson, who hacks the ball back in field. Picked up by Reid. He finds Bellamy. Kuchar's going to make a forward run if Bellamy can pick him out. He's desperate for a runner at the moment. Tries to chip towards the right hand side, and Thompson cut out by Wright. Bellamy can't get there, second time of asking. Helped forward by Connolly. Francis gets a touch, but Nelson gets his body in the way. just inside the Wigan half. Chimbonda now looks forward. The home side have been soundly beaten here. Excellent performance from Rovers. Wright has to go back all the way towards Mike Pollitt. He's had very little chance with any of the Rovers goals, in all honesty.
And still they sing the 5,000 travelling faith. I hope they're all there on Monday night at Ewood Park. Kids for a quid, 7:35 kick-off, Portsmouth the visitors. Oh, what a way to end the weekend.
Pollitt's long kick forward. Nelson wins the header for Rovers. Camera trying to get in between the Rovers rear guard. He's touched, it's far too far ahead of him. Brad Friedel will pick up. The away fans chant for Mark Hughes and he acknowledges them with a raise of the left arm. Gray skips away from Jason Roberts. Nelson for Rovers has Emerton available, still inside the Rovers half. Great move at the moment. Cucci now left hand side, a fourth goal. Are we in dreamland? He tried to lay it towards Bellamy. Not the best of passes. I think the Finn knows that. It's taken a touch off the Wigan defender and it's behind for a Rovers corner.
But it was all there, apart from the final pass or the interception. Truly, truly, truly magnificent and well-deserved, this victory here at the JJB. 3 minutes to maybe seal it with a fourth.
Savage will take the corner from the Rovers left-hand side. It's a short one towards Gray, laid back towards Savage. Right-footed, he holds the ball up. He's doing the same as Bellamy now. Gray will just keep it in the corner, laid back towards Savage, who takes over. Goes to the back heel towards Bellamy. Chimbonda takes it away from him. Emerton in strongly. Bullard only manages to divert the ball towards Michael Gray. Gray goes infield towards Bellamy, twists away from one man, and then Chimbonda steps over one way, then the other. Oh, it's just pure trickery at the moment. Chimbonda gets a touch and it's out for a Rovers throw. All this in front of 5,000 plus Blackburn fans. It's just like their own little private showboat section, isn't it?
It was magnificent there, Craig Bellamy. Unbelievably good.
Well, Rovers' smartness finally gets them caught. Gray's throw returned to him. He was right next to the corner flag, so when he picked it up again, he was offside. 90 seconds remaining here at the JJB Stadium. It's Wigan 0, Blackburn Rovers 3, as Nelson wins the header. Bellamy is well offside. Cucci, though, gives chase. He wants a goal. Savage touches down towards Emerton, who will just about keep the ball in. Another back heel. It seems as though every other pass at the moment is a touch of exhibitionism from Rovers.
Well, you can now almost read the names or the letters on the seats on the two stands facing us and to our right here. The words spelt out on the seats in white letters against a blue background ahead of us and a red background, JJB, and that shows you how many spectators have now left. I hope this just doesn't dent Wigan's season too much, because they deserve more than the faithful leaving so early.
Thompson, his first real involvement in the game, has come from right to left. He pings a pass at Cucci, does well to control and then goes central. Might fancy the shot. Oh, it's laid through towards Bellamy. Just too much on that one. Nice idea though. Craig Bellamy, I just don't think had read the pass, and it was through to Mike Pollitt. The Welshman applauds the ball as Pollitt now kicks long upfield. Wigan desperately hoping there's some consolation. There's scant consolation. They've never really looked like taking anything out of this game. Rovers, the better of the two sides, started off this game so brilliantly. Second half, they've just been in total control.
And I think it's been a real complete performance from Rovers.
And 2005 ends in fantastic fashion for Rovers. 3-0 victories at the JJB Stadium. It all started inside the quarter of an hour mark. Dickov's cross from the right-hand corner of the penalty area, flicked on by Cucci, and from an almost impossible angle, Morten Gamps Pedersen volleying back past Mike Pollitt to give Rovers the lead. Wigan were better as the first half went on. Michael Gray had to clear off the goal line after Bullard's corner was headed goalwards by Dejoux, but in the second period it was all Rovers. Barely 8 minutes had passed when a cross from the right-hand side fell to Stephen Reid just outside the box, and he marks his 50th start for the club with a quite tremendous goal, the best he's definitely scored for Blackburn Rovers. As the game went on, Rovers threatened to score more and finally did do so with just 6 minutes remaining. The ball fell rather fortuitously to Craig Bellamy after he went on a mazy run. He made no mistake from about 14 yards, coolly slotting the ball past Mike Pollitt in Wigan's goal. Rovers have been outstanding. What an exceptional way to finish 2005. It's finished at the JJB Stadium. Wigan Athletic 0, Blackburn Rovers 3.